Hey guys, it's Mr. Neese. I wanted to hit you up again today on another TEK, U.S. History's TEK SE 4F. So let me read it to you. Analyze major issues raised by U.S. involvement in World War I, including isolationism, neutrality, Woodrow Wilson's 14 points, and the Treaty of Versailles. So, got a few items going on there. Let's start with the first one, isolationism and neutrality. It's kind of the second, but they're a little married in a sense. We kind of wanted to stay out of the war. It's a European war. We didn't want to be in it. That's not to say that we didn't want a certain side to win. We had allies in Britain, and we were sending things to kind of help them, but we were trying to stay as neutral as possible, largely because we did not want to be a part of the war going on there, but we were also the isolationist mentality of being separated from that. We wanted to be away from that. That's on the other side of the ocean. Don't want any part of it. Now, ultimately, we're going to get pulled into it. Escalations with the Germans' unrestricted submarine warfare. The Zimmerman telegram, where they asked Mexico to go against us if we came into the war. But also the term to make the world safe for democracy. We see European theater that's deteriorating, and we see the need to be in it. We're going to have to get into it. So we do. Now, once we get in, we're going to see a change in the way our government functions. We're going to see the Selective Service Act, 1917. Now with that, we're going to get the draft. And to this day, it is required for males when they reach 18 to register for the Selective Service. This is where it originally begins. We're going to get the War Board or War Trade Board, which is going to regulate the economy. We're going to get the Espionage Act of 1917. This is to protect against espionage or spying or things going on that shouldn't be in the country. And it's going to restrict our freedoms, freedom of speech. There's a lot of restrictions on this, and that holds up in courts. Protesters, there's a case where one protests the war handing out pamphlets and said he had freedom of speech, and he got arrested, and the courts upheld that it was okay to arrest him in a time of war. That's going to be a huge difference from there until we get to Vietnam, where we see mass demonstrations. But at this time, that's being held up in the courts. But we're also going to see nationalism. That's one of the big things that I've talked about in other videos. All these countries being very nationalistic, very proud of their own countries. Now, with that, we have, questioning loyalties. We have people who are suspicious of immigrants. Immigration starts to become an issue. We'll get the 1917 Immigration Act that's going to restrict immigrants from coming in, and it's going to be tougher for them to come in. But that's going to be very consistent, not only across our history, but especially in times of war. So let's jump into Woodrow Wilson's 14 points. So Woodrow Wilson's our president. His first term, he kept us out of war, and he uses that in his campaign for the second one. But in the second one, we have to get into the war. So we get into it. And when we come out of it, he has these 14 points that he wants to push. He wants to reduce armaments among the countries. He wants freedom of navigation in the seas, restricting the alliances. That part of the issues that got many countries in the war was making alliances with other countries. So he's trying to do some things that he thinks might prevent a war from happening again. Now, he also wanted to create a League of Nations, and that would be similar to what we have today in the United Nations, a forum where all nations can come together and try to resolve their differences. Now, it ain't going to happen. It won't work with us, at least, because the Senate's going to knock it down. And part of this goes back into the isolationist thought. We've been in a war now, a world war on the European front, and we don't really care to be in it and don't want to be in an alliance again. And all this 14 points and League of Nations stuff sounds like that may pull us back into it or make us be a part of something we don't want to be. So We want to be isolated, let them do their thing. So we, our Senate won't ratify the final treaty just because of those fears of being encumbered or pulled back into something. So, Treaty of Versailles is a treaty that is signed at the end of the war. It puts a huge guilt clause onto Germany and creates a tremendous debt they have to pay back. They lose a war, now they got to pay it back, pay everybody that got hurt in it or damages. And this is really going to set us up into huge problems as we fall into the Depression, and then later sets us up for another world war. So some of these actions here are, the cause and effect stuff we discuss regularly, but it's going to lead us into some problems down the road. So hopefully that helps you with this SE, and I'll talk to you again soon.